Hello and welcome to the Many Faces of Science podcast, where we discuss the different jobs that use science, the people who have them, and how they got there. We hope these episodes act as a guide for people who want to explore more than just academia and a gateway to the curious-minded. I'm your host, Caelum, and today we're going to be chatting with astrophysicist and founder of Space Store India, Gauri Verma. If you enjoyed the episode and or found it useful, you can let us know on our social media. We're on Bluesky, Instagram and TikTok. Here we go. So, hi, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm doing really well. Thank you so much for having me. This is really exciting. My name is Gauri, and it's really, really nice to be here.
That's wonderful. Well, that links to my first question was, how do you pronounce your name? Just to make sure that they're pronouncing it correctly if they get in contact with you.
Yes, thank you. It's a very famous name in India, but I know it's not very famous elsewhere. It's Gauri Verma. It's actually a name. I'm named behind a goddess. So
Oh,
we
okay.
have loads of gods and goddesses in India, and Gauri is one of the goddesses. So that's how my parents have named me.
It's a wonderful name.
Thank you.
No problem at all. And moving on to my next question is, what is your official job title?
Interesting. So I have recently started my own company. So
Okay.
my official title is the founder
hmm
of Space Store India,
Oh,
which
okay.
I've basically I've collaborated with a company in the UK, which is called Space Store Limited,
hmm
and we're now opening a new company in India, which is Space Store India, and I'm looking after it. So I'm opening it. So I'm the founder of the company.
That sounds very exciting.
Thank you. Yeah, it is. It is. It's a lot of work, but it's really exciting as well.
Well, linking into that work, my next question is, what are your current job roles? Obviously, you said you're the founder, but I imagine that has a lot of different components as part of it. If you could tell me maybe the main three, if it's more than three, that's entirely fine as well.
Yeah, sure. So obviously, as a founder, I need to kind of establish what the company is going to do, right? To manage the operations.
hmm
I also manage the social media and marketing side of things. That's two. And third, I'm also responsible for hiring people in my company for n number of roles that I
hmm
want.
Awesome. So that's kind of a lot of different things, a lot of different areas that you're trying to work in. Could you go into discussing what each of those roles kind of requires of you?
Yes, of course. So Space Tour India is essentially an education company which
hmm
delivers experiential space workshops in
Okay.
schools, colleges, and even corporate workshops. So, for that matter, I would need people to help me deliver those workshops, create those modules, which we show people.
hmm
There will be some hardware that we require, like VR headsets, which is
hmm
virtual reality headsets, and augmented reality items that we use to kind of
hmm
make the workshop more immersive. And
Okay.
therefore, I would need people to help me deliver those sessions,
hmm
uh, help people who are actually on the receiving side of those sessions with the VR and
hmm
all the other softwares or items that we're using. Secondly, I would need people to help me market these things to people in India that, okay, this is a company and this is what we're doing.
hmm
So market it to the right audience using social media platforms, email, and other platforms, obviously. And then I would also need to hire more people. So my idea is to hire interns
hmm
first, because I love when young people come on board and they have that energy and enthusiasm to work
hmm
with us, because I was one of them as well
hmm
when I was, in my college and bachelor's. I have worked as an intern with many companies, and
hmm
it's a great experience. So, and the benefit is that you can pay interns as an hourly rate
hmm
rather than keeping them as a full-time employee, right? Right. So that would give me the opportunity to train them, and
hmm
that would also give them the opportunity to learn something new
hmm
and become better at it.
Okay. So kind of within those roles then, kind of in terms of recruiting, you're kind of looking for people who are wanting to have experiences.
Hmm.
You're kind of reaching out to distributors and companies to kind of work with in terms of kind of the VR headsets, as you were saying, kind of for the experiences.
Hmm.
And I guess thinking about the logistics of where you're going to do the workshops, kind of getting in contact with the schools and kind of setting the foundations
Yeah.
for the company.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. We would definitely need to do a lot of outreach, a lot of
Mhm.
business development, and that is also one of the major roles that I have to deliver. Because I think in term when it comes to making a rapport with schools, making a
Mhm.
rapport with any other institution, connections and networking is very important. You need to have good connections over there. So I'm currently really kind of diving into my LinkedIn and searching for people who I know who work with schools, who work with
Mhm.
colleges, and then I can reach out to them and
Yeah.
say, this is what I'm doing. It's a new project that I'm working on. Would you be interested? And would you know someone else who can be interested as well so that I can reach out to them as well? So, in the past 2.5 months that I've been in India, I've been doing market research and getting in touch with people who I know are working in the industry. And asking my close relatives as well, what schools do your children go into and how can I get in touch with the teachers and stuff. So that's all been my 2.5 months.
So you've been very busy 2.5 months.
Yes, indeed. Yes.
So my next question is, did you always want to have this job or did you want to be something else when you were younger?
That's a very good question. So I always wanted to work in the space industry.
Hmm.
I never thought as a young child that I would build my own company. I
Hmm.
thought I would work in the industry for sure, because when I was very young, I was not very good at maths, but and physics. But there was always something about space science that enlightened me, and I was like, okay, this is the best field that I can think of. I mean, I love and respect all the other fields that people work in, and I'm an engineer as well. So I have a background in engineering and astrophysics, and they're not. People say they're very different, but they're actually very interconnected fields. Um, so I knew that I would work in the space industry in some extent,
Yeah.
but sitting here and having this conversation with you right now, I feel wow. You never really know where life is going to take you. So whenever you're kind of brought in front of a challenge, don't scare away. Always face it with all the courage that you have, and it's always going to lead to something fruitful.
Yeah. What kind of jobs in space did you know about when you were younger?
I knew that there is, I can be a professor.
Hmm.
I can go into a university and teach physics. I knew that there are scientists in space agencies like NASA, and
Hmm.
India has its own space agency, which is ISRO, and which is really famous here for people who are really excited about space. So I did think of applying to ISRO when I was younger, when I was about 16 or 17 years old. And there's a certain exam that you have to give to enter ISRO, which is kind of like an examination, which is really tough, according to me. So I couldn't crack it. It involves a lot of physics and maths and electronics and all sorts of things because they provide really core engineering roles, which is something not what I wanted to do. And I
Yeah.
think that's why I didn't end up going there. My favorite field of science so far has been science communication, because I love talking about science to people, and I want to attempt to make it easier for them to understand that astrophysics is might be a heavy word, but it's actually a very simple thing to understand if you enjoy science, if you enjoy space. Anyone can read about it, anyone can learn about it, and participate in space science and space education.
Definitely. I entirely agree with that. Obviously, I really enjoy science communication as well. Where I work, we've just done a show we call Moonshot, which is about the Artemis space programs and kind of going through and going like rocket science. It sounds really complicated, but if you
Mhm.
follow Newton's three laws, that explains
Mhm.
quite a lot of how we get up there, how things move about. And it's just watching kids start to understand it. It's just such a wonderful thing to see.
Exactly. It's very satisfying when you see people's faces light up. And I think that's why when I was working with Space Store in the UK,
Hmm.
I was like, I need to kind of extend this feeling to Indian audience because when their faces light up, it makes my day. And I wanted to carry that on and bring it to more people.
Perfect. Well, so obviously you wanted to work in space when you were younger, and so you've kind of gone on this path, you've had this kind of direction. But has there been a person or a moment which changed your career at all?
Yes. So when I was studying astrophysics in Cardiff Uni, after finishing my graduation, I was like, okay, what am I going to do? Then I luckily found a 6 months project with the University of Warwick, but
Hmm.
that ended really soon because 6 months you just kind of get 3 months of training and then you're already about to finish your contracts. I was panicking, but then when I found an opportunity to work with the University of Oxford, which I had never thought about in my dreams. I think that was like a career changing point for me because that gave me the confidence that, okay, with my current education, with my experience, Oxford University is accepting me as a staff member.
Yeah.
So that really kind of was a turning point in my career. And I think that gave me the confidence and the ability to not set any limits for myself. And that also gave me the power to kind of come back to India and I can think of opening my own company, which I might have not thought about if I didn't have that confidence.
That's awesome. So, where did you see that advertised?
So I was looking for jobs online,
Hmm.
a few websites to name, like Glassdoor,
Hmm.
Indeed. These were a few websites, and also kind of just Google searching jobs in science communication or even like event management, conference management. So in Oxford, my role was events and conferences coordinator. So I used to conduct alumni events, conferences. People used to come, scientists used to come from all over the world to do conferences, and I used to conduct those events. And while I was doing those events, I got the opportunity to interact with the best minds who were in Oxford. So I made great connections. I expanded my LinkedIn network, and that all the more helped me to kind of build my network, build my confidence. And that was a great, great opportunity for me.
That sounds wonderful. I think I have a bit of experience as well with kind of organizing different events, and I think it is because people don't necessarily think about when you're organizing the events, the different people that you're going to actually get to interact with. And even if you're not in the room as one of their initial peers, you're there still being able to interact, being able to have those conversations, being able to have those connections, and just asking, can we go for a coffee? Can we have a chat? Can I ask you some questions? I think is always something really, really important that I always try and promote of reaching out, networking, cold emailing people. I am also a big advocate for because people might say no, but people also
Exactly.
might give you some time as well because they remember when they were in your stage of their career.
Exactly. And the worst that can happen is that they will say no or they won't reply. So you have
Yeah,
nothing to lose really. And surprisingly, I was kind of given this image that, the people of Oxford and Cambridge, they're kind of really in their own shell and they won't open up to you and they're kind of really sophisticated. And some of them I met, they are, but most of them, they're really open, they're really welcoming. They want to help you out because you're curious and you're asking questions, and also because they used to say to me, oh, you're so young, so you should go for this opportunity, and by the time you're 50, you'll be at a great place. So they kind of gave me the motivation to kind of that, yeah, I think I'm at the right place.
yeah. Did you just kind of give them your LinkedIn or did you have a little QR code go scan that?
Well, in networking events, I would always be like, "Oh, can we connect on LinkedIn?" After having like a little bit of chat,
Yeah,
I would be like, "Oh, that's great. I love what you're doing. Can we connect on LinkedIn?" So I would always kind of have them type their name because I can read the spelling wrong. I can
yeah,
mispronounce or mistype their name. So I think it's a good idea to have them type their name in your phone, and if the internet is not working, just open notes and just
yeah.
type in their name, and you can get an idea of their job title. Because I've learned the hard way. I used to tell them my name, and they could get my name spelling wrong, and then I lost them forever. So I couldn't connect with them. So I think it's always good to confirm your connection by asking them to give them your name, kind of thing.
Yeah. And then it's on you to reach out rather than on them to
Exactly.
reach out as well.
Exactly. And that kind of settles the connection that, okay, if you're really interested, you would then reach out to them.
Hmm. Well, this then links in with my next question. what
Mhm.
inspired you to get into the industry you're working in today? Obviously, you said that you've been interested in science for a really long time, but what inspired you about science to want to work in it?
That's a really good question, and it takes me back to my childhood. So, when I was in grade three, in 2006, there was this total solar eclipse, I remember. And my school, they took all the children down in the park, not in the park, but like in the school grounds. And they gave these solar glasses to us, which we then put on, and then we could see the sun. And it was safe to see the sun with those glasses. So, that turned my life around 180 degrees, because then when I saw that the sun was completely covered by the moon, and we could just see like a ring of what they call a ring of fire, which is
Hmm.
just like the external ring of the sun. I was like, this is a, I mean, it's the magic of the universe. This is a beautiful phenomenon, and this is just amazing. I just felt like it's magic, and
Yeah,
ever since I haven't looked back. So it wasn't just like I stumbled upon it and I started liking it. It just stuck with me, and I wanted to explore more about the universe and solar system and everything. And then in eighth grade, I my school had an astronomy club which I joined, and we really enjoyed. Me and my friends, we joined the club, and we really enjoyed because someone from, like, an instructor from outside, they came to the school. They delivered these amazing space workshops. We made comets, like we actually made comets using dry ice and dust and all of these things. So it was really hands-on, and all these activities were going on, stomp rockets, and yeah, all sorts of activities. So it really stayed with me. And then we once we went like stargazing at night. So we stayed at the camp. We stayed overnight to see planets and see stars and all these kinds of things in the sky. So all these experiences, I always kind of kept putting in my bag and collecting them as nice memories. And
yeah.
then by the time I grew up, I was like, I'm going to empty this bag and I'm going to use all of that for my career now.
That's so lovely. I think I remember doing the exact same thing
Oh,
for the eclipse, kind of wearing the little glasses and being able
yes.
to look up. Yeah,
Yes, yes,
it was
definitely.
such a cool experience to do. And
Yeah.
then, so kind of with you did the astronomy, and then was there anything at uni? Obviously, well, you did your degree. What was your
Hmm.
degree in?
My degree was, well, the master's was
Yes.
in astrophysics.
Your master's in astrophysics. Did you do a
Yes.
bachelor's or did you go straight to a master's?
So I did my bachelor's in computer science engineering first,
Okay.
because in India, I did my bachelor's in India,
Hmm.
and in India, unfortunately, there are not many courses which are like core astrophysics.
Hmm.
There are courses like physics or physics with astronomy as electives,
Hmm.
but there was not like a core course. So I thought it was a safe option to do a bachelor's in computer science engineering because I loved coding
Hmm.
and I wanted to pursue that as well. And I knew that it's going to help me in my master's as well, because when we did data analysis, when we kind of saw the galaxies and we are calculating its mass and number of stars,
Hmm.
for that you need coding. So that really helped me. So I kind of, instead of putting my step on the second ladder, I kind of put like one step on the ladder at a time.
And kind of built your way up. Perfect. Well, that perfectly leads into my next question, which is how did you get the current role you are in? If you could talk about your kind of exams, like the choices that you made in the subjects that you were doing,
Mhm.
the kind of before you went to university and then kind of through up to the current point, that'd be wonderful, so that the listeners can get an understanding of the different subjects it would be beneficial for them to take to try and get a similar path.
Nice. Okay. Sure. This is a nice question because I'll speak from the perspective of India and I'll
Hmm.
speak from the perspective of the rest of the world. Uh, I mean, with the rest of the world, I know that primarily UK, but also US and other countries, they're quite open when you change fields.
Hmm.
But India is kind of restricted when, in terms of like, if you're switching fields from computer science to astrophysics, they would always come up to you and ask, "Why did you switch fields?
Yeah.
Did you not enjoy computer science?" But that's not really the case. So my subjects when I was studying computer science were mainly related to computers, data analysis, programming, software development, project management. But there were also elective courses like, environmental science,
Mm-hmm.
quantum physics, mathematics, and all of that was there. And one of the subjects which I really took advantage of was research. So while doing my bachelor's, I collaborated with physics professors of my university to write a research paper. So while I
Okay.
was doing my computer science degree, I was also writing a research paper on ionospheric parameters in the atmospheric layers of the Earth. So that was kind of not pulling me away entirely from physics, because I wanted to keep in touch with physics as well. So these are the subjects in computer science. When I moved on to my master's course in astrophysics, primarily why I took that course was because the modules were so amazing. I was studying cosmology, stellar evolution, galactic evolution, dark matter and energy, science communication, which was one of my favorite subjects because Wendy, my professor, she made it so immersive and so interactive and hands-on. We visited different museums, we got to interact with different people. So she really made the subject come to life. And
Yeah.
that's why that was my favorite subject. It was always out, like mostly outside the classroom. So that's what I loved about Wendy and the subject itself. So I think when it comes to India and our education system, the transition is a bit difficult to make. It's not impossible, but it's a bit difficult. But UK is really, really open-minded when it comes to switching fields. I know that people who have studied history are now working with fintech companies. So it's really, really easy to make that switch as long as you have a good reason of why you're making that switch. People don't really question you that much.
Definitely, when I've looked through lots of jobs, they just specify that they want you to have a degree, but they
Hmm.
don't necessarily specify what kind of degree, unless you're kind of like it is specifically needed the knowledge that you gained from that degree. I know some people who are working in science who've got an art history degree. Their knowledge that they've gained, being able to learn and being able to do research and put what they've learned into practice is what employers really want from that.
Exactly. Yeah. I think and that's how it should be. The skills should matter instead of your degree. And that's what current employers are looking for.
Can I just ask what subjects you took before did your degree? So, when you were in kind of high school, what subjects allowed you to be able to get your go into computer science?
Yes, sure. So in India until 10th standard, which is high school,
Hmm.
you have to select all the same subjects. You don't have a choice.
Hmm.
But I mean you have a choice of language, but that's it. In 11th standard and 12th standard, you have to select from physics, chemistry, mathematics, biology, or all the commerce subjects,
Hmm.
or all the humanities subjects. So there are
Hmm.
three fields per se, which is called non-medical, which includes physics, maths, and chemistry,
Hmm.
and then all the other subjects like English and language, and you can choose computer science as an elective. I had kind of like a mixture of things. So I had physics, chemistry, not biology, mathematics,
Hmm.
and I loved economics, so I took economics. I didn't have to, but I really liked economics, so I took that. I took physical education instead of computer science because I didn't want to sit inside a lab and inside a classroom all day. I needed some kind of physical activity, and I love playing games and stuff. So I was on the volleyball team as well. So I love being active that way. And then the other subjects, which I didn't take, were music and other electives.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, I think these subjects really helped me because without taking physics, chemistry, and maths, it would be harder for me to kind of build that logical ability or
Hmm.
thinking capacity, which is really important when you study technical subjects like data analysis and computer
Hmm.
science. So they really kind of helped me excel. Um, they were really difficult to do when I was doing them because Indian studies are really hard, and you might have heard about this. Like the competitive examinations in India are really really difficult to do as well. And I sat many of them, so it really kind of polishes you, and you you kind of rub yourself up to that level. So it's a really rough path to take,
Hmm.
but in the end, it's worth it.
And how was applying for your degree? Was there any resources that you specifically looked at to kind of help decide which university to go for? Was there anyone that you talked to externally that kind of gave you advice about that?
Yeah, so while doing my university research, again, that's a phase that I remember really clearly because I wasn't sure what to do. But luckily, I had a friend who kind of motivated me all the time. She was also looking for abroad studies. So she's in Canada right now. She was looking for computer science. I was looking for astronomy courses. And we both were initially applying for US and Canada. So I had
Hmm.
not actually applied to UK, sorry, for about, until about 2 months before my admission date.
Yeah.
And I was really kind of late admission, if you say. Um, so when I applied for US and Canada, most of them, my applications got rejected, and I didn't know what I was doing wrong. And then I started taking some professional help from a consultancy firm called IDP, and they're really helpful in terms of like building application building and suggesting which university is right for you and
Hmm.
which course you should take and all of that. So I did take professional help. Eventually, when most of my applications got rejected and the other ones which got accepted were too expensive, I applied to the UK and I got into Cardiff University, which is one of the Russell Group universities. And I found that opportunity, like I was really happy that I got into the university. And then I was like, okay, let's go. I was
Yeah.
happy with it. So Cardiff Uni was the only university in the UK that I applied for.
Hmm.
Uh, if I had not got accepted, I think I would have tried next year. I would have stopped applying after that.
Yeah.
So it was a really confusing journey.
Did you visit Cardiff before you went there for your degree?
No, I'd never visited the UK before I went there. But I had lived in Sweden for 3 years, back in 2009 to 2012.
Hmm.
So I did have that kind of international exposure, if you like. So when I moved to the UK, I didn't really suffer from a culture shock, which most people do suffer from. And it's a really difficult thing to do, to settle into, a new land between new people. So luckily, my previous experience kind of helped me there.
So, how did you find going to university in a different country than you were used to?
Initially, I was really, really excited.
Hmm.
Um, but when I got to the airport, so this is a really funny story because when I got to the airport with all my bags to fly to the UK, I realized that my luggage was 10 kgs overweight
Oh
because one of
no.
my friends, I know, because one of my friends, he had suggested me that, in this particular flight, it's all right to have a little bit overweight. So I took my luggage and they told me it's overweight and I had to pay a certain amount of money, which was a lot.
Hmm.
So I was like, and my dad and my family had already left me at the airport. So I was kind of standing there with the responsibility of emptying my bags, or I have to pay them some amount of money. So I was, being 23 years old, you have to make this decision. I was sweating like crazy. I was
Hmm.
like, okay, I've never had to make a decision in my life, which is so typical. What do I do? Do I empty my bags or do I pay them extra money? Then I came up with this negotiation with them that okay, I'm gonna pay you a little bit of money so that you can upgrade me to first class, and
Hmm.
then you can check in my extra luggage
Yeah.
if that works. And they agreed to that, but I did have to pay an extra money. But then I think that was the phase. Once you cross that phase, after that everything was like, okay, I can make decisions. I'm all right.
Yeah.
So when I landed in Cardiff, I was really overwhelmed but also excited. But my dad had planned everything for me. He had booked a taxi which would pick me up from the airport and drop me at my student accommodation. He really planned everything out for me, um, because for the first time I was traveling alone, out of country, and I had been in the plane a lot of times before that, but never alone. So
Yeah.
it was a huge step for me. So that feeling was really exciting. It was a mix of excitement and curiosity and confusion, and I didn't know what's going to happen. But now when I think about it, I would really want to live it again. It was really worth it.
I imagine Cardiff had lots of different societies. I know my university had lots of different societies. Did you kind of focus more on the academic side, or did you also kind of go into the kind of sports clubs and societies as well when you were at the uni?
So when I entered the student fair, they have all these kind of stalls that you can
Hmm.
select societies and be a part of. And talking to different students, I realized that, master's students are really occupied with their courses and assignments. And so they don't really get the time to do to be a part of societies and go to sports clubs because they have their own training schedules. You have to be up in the ground at 6 a.m. in the morning, and then training can go on for half a day. And I had heard all these stories, but then still I was like, okay, I'm going to join this really simple society. I'm going to join this book club.
Hmm.
And it didn't have a long commitment. So it was like just 1 hour a week in the park. You just go and read a book and then you come back. And I did go a couple of times, but then again, you soon realize that the course, when you start it, it's really easy, but then it grows exponentially hard towards the end of a term, and the weeks, they just fly by. So then I realized, okay, I'm sorry, guys. I can't come to the park and read a book with you guys because in my head, I'm actually thinking about my assignment that I have to submit tomorrow.
Yeah.
So it did take over me, and I got really overwhelmed. There was a few nights where I had to kind of sit down with my laptop and complete assignment overnight because
Hmm.
it was so difficult to kind of pull everything together. So it really depends on what you're studying. Since my course was really, really technical, it involved a lot of research and it involved a lot of mathematical derivations, and it was really hard. So I couldn't give much time to societies. However, I love traveling. So I would always take out time for a run, or to go to nearby areas on the weekends with my friends. Bath is one of my favorite places in the UK. Oxford is as well, but I've lived in Oxford. But to travel, I would always go to Bath and to Bristol. These are my favorite places to visit.
They are both beautiful cities. I can recommend both of them,
Mm-hmm.
having gone there a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So you were at Cardiff, you found the job at Oxford University, kind of managing the different events and the conferences for the alumni. What did you then do after that?
Right. So, interestingly, while I was working at Oxford University,
Hmm.
when I came in for my interview
Yeah,
for the Oxford Uni job, I was just wandering around in Oxford. It was my second time in Oxford.
yeah.
So I was just wandering around the cupboard market and I came
Hmm.
across this called Space Store.
Hmm.
And being an astrophysicist, I was obviously very curious what's in the shop. So I went inside and I spoke with the guy and I said, "Wow, this shop is great, and I would love to kind of be a part of this. If you have a vacancy or if there's any online project I can work on, this is my degree, and I would love to be a part." And he gave me the number of Stephen Ringler, who is the founder of Space Store Limited. And we really clicked on. I mean, we spoke for about an hour on the phone just about my experience and what I'm looking for. So Space Store essentially consisted of space merchandise. And on the other part of the shop, they had an experience zone where they conducted astronaut experiences for people like general public. So children from the age of 5 all the way up to I don't know, however long they live, they're anyone's welcome there. So they provide like a 60-minute experience with VR headsets, with space suits. They show you meteorites, they show you fossils and all these things. It's like a presentation about space, which I thought was a brilliant idea. So fortunately, when I did get my job in Oxford Uni, which I didn't know if I would get or not, and I had just spoke to this guy that I would love to work with you, but I actually don't know if I'll get the job in Oxford. Luckily, it all worked out, and all the puzzle pieces set in the right place. I was working with Space Store once a week on
Hmm.
Saturdays to deliver these talks, the astronaut experiences, and Monday to Friday, I used to work with Oxford Uni to do my job, right? So I was working parallel, I was working both jobs and working parallel, and I was loving it. And then when my contract with Oxford University finished, which was a 1 year contract, so it
Hmm.
finished in October, and then Space Tour hired me full time as an outreach and business development coordinator. So I was working with them to kind of build school connections and do more outreach and do more school workshops with them. So, and that really taught me a lot. So my when my visa was about to expire, my PSW, which is my post-study work visa, which I had, it expired in early February,
Hmm.
and that's when I flew back to India. And within those 3-4 months, Space Store really trained me well to kind of show me the in and outs of a business model, what they do, because I was very clear of the idea, and I'd spoken to Steve about this very, very early on, that I love your company, Steve, and I would love to do something very similar in India, because in India we don't have anything like this yet, and I think people would love it. So the 3 4 months I had with them, I soaked up everything I could, and now is the time when I'm kind of getting it all out, and obviously learning every day, but implementing whatever I learned.
Perfect. Are there lots of space stores all around the UK, or is it mainly the one in Oxford?
So there's only one in Oxford,
Okay.
and they're trying to expand, and they're looking for different places to expand, but currently there's only one.
So they're working in Oxford, and then they're working in collaboration with you to help bring something similar to India.
Yes, yes.
You've definitely had a journey to get to this point as being the founder. What is the most fun day that you've had at work so far as the founder? I imagine it there's a lot of long hours trying to make sure everything's all put together, but I imagine there's some fun in there as well.
Yes, of course. So I think the best day I've had so far, I've had here in India as a founder, is that when I was opening my Instagram page, I opened up a new Instagram page for my new company, and I added all the followers from my currently existing platform, and I released a post which was a carousel about my journey that we've just spoken about. So I made like a 10-page carousel, and I spoke about like. Growing up, I was really interested in space. Then I moved to Sweden for 3 years, still exploring what I want to do. Then I moved to the UK to pursue my education, and now I've moved back to India to pursue my dream career, which is being a founder of this company. And that post, like within a week, within 4 days or something, it touched like 3,000 views or something. I know that's not a lot, but for me that's a lot because I just had like 500 followers. So and and all the more people commented on that post, and they congratulated me, and they showed their love and showed their respect. So that really touched me, and they supported me, like, come on, go girl, this is great. So that really pushed me to keep going, and gave me the motivation that, okay, this is something nice and people are going to like it. So I was really, really happy, and I felt really grateful and really blessed to have such supporting crowd with me.
That does sound like a really lovely day. I know when you're
Mm.
trying to build something new, I know when kind of the early days of me trying to do the podcast as well, just
Mm.
having that encouragement, having people supportive of it, going, yes, okay, no, this is the right thing I should be doing. They kind of, it helps that it's something external from yourself is also giving you that motivation, I think can be really beneficial.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's kind of reassuring because, coming back and starting from zero, starting from scratch, I don't have any co-founder or, employees working for me.
Hmm.
I'm completely on my own. So I needed that kind of reassurance from people that they would love this idea. And when I got that hint that they did, I was like, okay, I'm going to go all in now. I'm going to try my best to deliver.
So the next question, obviously, it's the early days of the company. So we could do this question related to now and also in the future.
Mhm.
What does your ideal day look like? So, what does your ideal day look like now as the beginning founder? And then, what will your ideal day look like in 6 months' time?
Oh, in 6 months' time, I don't know if I'll have time to brush my hair. But even but even now, I think what the ideal day would be sleeping all day actually. But I think as a someone who wants to build a brand, I would love to start my day with looking at my calendar, because I'm a really organized person. If I don't have a calendar in front of me, I'm completely, I go crazy. I'm like, okay, I don't know what I'm doing today. So I'd like to have a calendar, go through my tasks, schedule a few meetings within the week to kind of collaborate with people, because once you're starting a business, you want to collaborate. Even this with you is a collaboration, and we got connected on LinkedIn because I reached out to you and said, oh, I would really love to pull this off, and thankfully you said yes. So these are the kind of opportunities where you want to try and tap things open, and if someone says, yes, I'd love to work with you, there you go. That's your chance. So have collaboration meetings, and then send emails to schools, do more outreach, talk to more people about how they would like to see this brand grow. One thing that I did and I'm really happy about is that I went back to my college where I did my bachelor's for an alumni talk only last week. And over there, while giving the presentation, I released a survey form to students. There were about 200 students in front of me, fresh and young, enthusiastic students. So that's my ideal crowd who I want to ask about my, how should I build my brand? And I shared a Google form link with them, and luckily 70 of them responded saying that, yeah, this is great, and we would love to work with you. So I can hire them as interns because I have their contact details. So that's the kind of opportunities I'm trying to build. Because when you're building a brand, you try everything and anything. So that will be the ideal day that I'll look at my calendar. I'll look up some people on LinkedIn. I'll just shoot them a message or an email, fix a few meetings for the week, and then enjoy the week.
That sounds like a nice organized day. Nothing goes wrong. You don't have to put out any fires that are happening, and hopefully you get a good, nice, relaxing evening.
Exactly. Yeah. The thing is, what I really miss about the UK is that weekday weekend differentiation, which in
Hmm.
India kind of blurs out because I found myself working on Saturdays and Sundays as well, which I know is wrong. But again, when you're building a company, you don't distinct between weekdays and weekends. You just kind of want to give your all, right? But I do take very, very restful evenings because I live with my family, and we really have chill times.
That's good. I think it's really important to, even when you're kind of busy, just making sure you have that rest time so you don't burn yourself out. Because if you keep going and don't allow yourself to repair, it's going to come back and haunt you at the end.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, what is something about your role slash job that you find really cool that you don't think the audience or public will know about?
Ooh, okay. Well, I find everything about my role very, very cool. But it's just, I think the best part is that when I'm reading a space fact, and if it has any kind of jargon in it, for example, quantum mechanics or supernova or any other, black holes or dark energy or string theory, I know what that means
Hmm.
because I've studied it. And what I love about my job is that I love taking that jargon out of that paragraph and replacing it with simple words so that a
Hmm.
5-year-old can understand. And I think if you're able to do that, as Einstein said, if you're able to explain what you do, I think that's when you know your thing well. Um, and that's what I try to do. So I think that's kind of like a satisfaction that I get, which other people might not know about.
It is a really good level of satisfaction of trying to boil down a concept to its kind of basic parts and being able to explain it to someone, not dumbing it down, but kind of making sure it's at at their level. I think yeah, it
Exactly.
is a really, really good feeling.
Yeah, and this was actually very much emphasized when we had our science communication module in my university. So Wendy really made this clear that if you're not able to communicate what you're trying to say, it's actually not really worth it to have that session altogether because your audience should feel connected to what you're saying and not feel like you know better than them or you know more than them. That's why you're lecturing them. You
Hmm.
should actually be able to build that connection that we're the same, and it's just that I want to share something that I know, and I would be happy that if you would listen and you can either remember it or not remember it, but it just gives me pleasure to talk about that feeling and that thing because I'm really passionate about space.
I mean, I think the passion really shows, like, it shows how passionate you are talking about it. I know when I was doing the science communication module during my degree, the importance of having a dialogue and it not just
Mhm.
being the old style of science communication of just telling things to the public and making them listen,
Mhm.
rather than actually having a two-way conversation, going, this is this. Do you have questions about that? And then going into the questions because they might have a perspective on it that you would never have thought about.
Exactly, exactly. Oh, it's happened so many times. Yes.
Yeah. There was an exhibit that I was in one of the centers I work at. We had two 15-year-old boys who came in, and we've got one of our exhibits which is talking about how we make sound with our voices,
Oh yes.
and how our vocal cords work. And we've got one of the machines that vibrates that you put against your windpipe so that you can speak without using your vocal cords. And they lost their minds. They were like, "That's sick, bro! Like that's amazing! Like that, I've never seen anything like that before in my life." And it was just such pure excitement and just wanting to understand more. I spent about 45 minutes just going around all of the exhibits with them, and they were like, "This is insane."
Yes, exactly. A similar experience that I had was I attended a conference in London, and after attending that 2 day conference, they gave away some free passes for Make Space, which
Hmm.
is an exhibit within the Science Museum of London.
Yeah,
And most of the attendees of the conference were about above the age of 35 and 40. So I might probably be one of the youngest ones there. But I was like, can I please reserve my ticket for
hmm,
Makespace because I really wanted to see it. Now, Makespace is, I think, on the third or fourth floor of Science Museum, and if you've been there, you know what kind of different equipments they have. And I was the only one from the conference who actually made use of the ticket because other people maybe left for their trains or maybe gave it to their children or gave it to someone else, but I was like, no, I want to see what's there. And I was the only one, 25 year old sitting there looking at a fire game or something. So there was a guy doing some show with fire, doing some show with colors and stuff, basically showing, it was like a science show,
yeah,
uh, working with some chemicals and creating new stuff. And I was standing there close to these 7 or 10 year olds, looking at the same thing and feeling the same level of excitement. So I think my field is I feel my field is really nice because it always gives you the opportunity to see something new every day. And the more questions you ask, the more curious you get, the more satisfying it is to be in this field because you're always hungry to learn more.
oh no, definitely. Whenever I learn something new, I'm like, "That's amazing. How can I
Mm.
teach other people about this? More people need
Exactly.
to know about this."
Exactly.
My next question is, what is something from your past that you unexpectedly use in your current role?
Yes, I use a lot of things from my past, one of which I would say is public speaking. So
Okay.
I always was a person who was hard to stop when I was talking. But and you can ask my parents that what a pain. But I think I used it in the right way because when I was, say, again in first grade or second grade, I started experimenting with my music. So I loved singing. My grandma sings, my aunt sings, so I used to see them and I used to try to learn. And once I got comfortable in front of my family singing, I tried to kind of shift that on stage. And when I got on stage and I tried to sing, I was shivering, and I just realized it's not such an easy thing to do when you're singing in front of, say, 100 people rather than singing in front of your grandma, which is really easy for some reason. And I think I just froze on the stage, and then my teachers kind of motivated me that, okay, it's all right, you can come back after 5 minutes if you want, or we can help you. So my teacher, my music teacher, she helped me sing because she started singing, and then I started following her. So getting rid of that fear of public speaking or singing on stage, and once I did that, I started doing more of it so that I can overcome that fear. I can overpower that fear. Because if you want to communicate science and you're shivering if you're on stage, I think that really kind of contradicts what you're trying to do. You have to be comfortable on stage. You
Hmm.
have to show that confidence to people and that conviction that you know your stuff and you're comfortable talking about it. So that skill, and I think the move that I made was to overpower that fear and not just sit back from it. I think that really helped me today in having this conversation with you and in anything that I do in my day to day life.
Yeah, I've talked my previous podcast episode I released actually.
Hmm.
We talked. He was the one of the portfolio managers for the Scottish government,
Okay.
and he talked a lot about how important public speaking was as well. How
Hmm.
being able to communicate with people and being able to have that kind of confidence. I
Hmm.
think
Hmm.
also something there's a science communicator called Jamie Gallagher who talks a lot about kind of presenting, and he goes all around the country and Europe. And I
Wow.
don't know if he's gone further than that. He never stops. He's on the train about 6 days a week.
Oh my
Um,
God.
but he talks a lot about making sure that you're comfortable
Yes,
because if you feel comfortable in the space, it then allows your audience to feel comfortable and welcome in the space. Whereas if you don't feel comfortable in that space, you're not going to be able to help create an environment where the audience feels that they're welcome and comfortable in that space as well.
absolutely. Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah, so I think putting things into place, making sure that you have had kind of practice, or you, if you are anxious and you are uncomfortable doing public speaking, working out the ways that you can make yourself feel more comfortable. Um, Maybe imagine everyone's holding their childhood toy and they're just having a lovely time, or working out what mechanisms you can use to help yourself rather than just saying, I can't do that.
Yeah, exactly. And I think one more kind of perspective that really helps me when I try to make the audience comfortable is that I try to see from their eyes. Because in my recent alumni talk, when I went back to college, the first thing I spoke is that, 4 years ago, I was sitting where you are sitting now, and I manifested that I would somewhere down the line come here and tell people about my journey. So it's not impossible to do anything in life. If you want to come up here and give a talk, you very much can. All you have to do is just think about it every day.
Yeah.
So, I make it more kind of like motivational, and then people would be like, yeah, I think
Yeah.
I want to listen more.
As well as the public speaking, you mentioned when you were doing your computer science degree that you did kind of analysis and kind of data analysis and stuff like that, as well as during your kind of end of high school, you did economics. Those skills being used in your current job as well?
Good question. So economics, no.
Okay.
Uh, and I knew I wouldn't be using economics, but for the pure purpose of just understanding the market, because my dad, he invests in stocks, and he
Hmm.
sometimes, in random conversations or at the dinner table, he would talk about how much he has invested and how much returns he's getting. So I think economics is just helping me for the sake of understanding what he's trying to say.
Hmm.
And I think that's important enough. So that's really nice. Also, economics included a lot of numbers, and
Hmm.
I loved maths by the
Hmm.
time I was growing up. So I hated maths when I was little, but growing up, I started liking it. So not so much economics and data analysis. If I were into core research, like if
Hmm.
I were studying galaxies and finding out their mass and all of that, which I did in my thesis. My
Hmm.
thesis was finding a mass of a particular galaxy and how it's different from the other galaxies. There, I used a lot of data analysis, but in my current role, I don't use any of that. Now, I just use relationship building, project management, creating scientific modules, how to make people feel comfortable again when I'm talking to them, and how I can build a wider community of space in general. So it's all about seeing things from people's perspective, from the perspective of the audience.
Okay. So kind of using those in more your personal life rather than kind of using them in your job role then.
Yes, and also I beg your pardon. I do use economics actually in creating my Excel sheets. So when you're building a business, you need to create loads and loads of spreadsheets
Hmm.
wherein you kind of see your income, you see your expenses, profits and losses, and there are these business terms that we use like EBITDA and all these things where you
Hmm.
kind of need economics, and it's not something that you just know. You have to
Yeah.
study it first, and then you kind of eventually settle with it. And my people have helped me with these spreadsheets. So Steve, the founder of Space Store, and my dad, since they have a lot of experience in business, they've really helped me build these spreadsheets. But I think, yes, when I think about it now, economics also has played a role, because creating those P&L sheets, that means profit and loss sheets, I think it's pure economics.
To kind of being able to do the kind of the communication between the people, but also needing to make sure that the company functions, it works, making sure
Exactly.
that you're in the green rather than in the red.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So the company runs in both ways. You need to manage your expenses as well to keep the company surviving. And then there's this public side of things which you need to manage as well.
My next question is, were there any internships, training courses, volunteer work, or previous roles that you did which helped you get your current role?
Yes, when I was doing my bachelor's, actually,
Hmm.
I started working with a company as an intern. And during my first semester, my teachers really helped me with this, actually. So I was having a clash between my internship timing and one of my classes that I was attending. And my teacher, she said, as long as you're covering your assignments, I don't mind if you're late to the class. So I used that time to go and do my internship, which was also delivering space workshops to kids. And that was really, really basic, because I was just about 18, and I was helping these kids to learn about astronomy. I myself was learning it. So, with their curiosity combined, I would always kind of search things to tell them. They would ask me questions, and I would say, oh, I don't actually know. I'll come back to you with an answer in the next class. So, that actually helped me grow within my field. Um, and I totally, totally recommend people who are in their bachelor's, or even in school, if you want to kind of get the exposure. There are loads of internships available, even if they're unpaid. I would say totally go for it, because that, if added to your CV, that would build your profile. And then on the basis of that experience, people will readily give you another role if
Hmm.
you apply for in the future.
Definitely. I'd also highly recommend going, looking at internships, looking at volunteering. Quite a few people that I've interviewed during in the summer in between their kind of university years done the same internship multiple years in a row.
Yes.
And they've then been able to be given more and more responsibility because the people have a working relationship with them, they trust
Exactly.
them,
Mhm.
or it's helped them with what they've then gone on to do. I've got an episode that I need to get out shortly, where someone learned coding,
Uh-huh.
and they someone had come into the bar that they worked in and talked about the kind of research they were doing, and the person working behind the bar kind of explained that, oh, they did biology, kind of coding would be kind of interesting. There was an internship that they kind of put forward that they could try, but they didn't have coding for it, so they then worked and did practice it in coding, so that they then ended up doing that as their dissertation.
Perfect.
And I think it's they people say that you're never going to have as much free time as you do when you're at university, and I definitely didn't believe people, and then I missed that amount of time that I could have done other things, gained more experiences. I think it's also really beneficial to try things and realize that you don't like them, as well as try
Exactly.
things and find that it's beneficial because it's still helping you with your career of, okay, I'm not going to put energy into this. This isn't what I want to focus on. Maybe I can go and explore a different area as well.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And I think, as an example, I would say that in India, when I was in my final year of bachelor's, we have a placement timing. That means
Hmm.
after you finish your degree, there are companies, like corporate companies, which come into the college, and they do placements. This is not there in the Western world, it's just in India. So they would
Yeah.
come to your university, do an interview with you, do a test with you, and if they like you, they would hire you right away. So when I was preparing for my master's, I think it was just two of us in between like 200 students. Everyone was sitting for placements because they wanted a job. Me and
Hmm.
my friend who were applying for masters, we were the only ones who were not sitting for placements, and we were completely engraved in filling up applications, preparing for GRE, preparing for other examinations, and we made up our minds that this is not for us. So it's really good to have that clarity because we didn't waste time anywhere. We just straight on focused on our applications.
Nice. Obviously, you did an what was the company you did the internship with when you were doing your bachelor's?
It's called SciComm.
Psychom. Is
SciComm.
that how is that spelt?
So that's spelled
Hmm.
SciComm.
Perfect. Because I know some people do
Yeah,
PSCI as like the Psychom. Just wanted to make sure we got it the right way.
yeah.
And does that still exist? Is that still kind of available on the website for people to reach out? Do you know?
Yeah, that still exists. In fact, when I came back to India, I spoke to the founder of SciComm just to kind of have a chat and how the company is doing. And yes, it still exists. I would say not at the same scale as it
Hmm.
was because now it's kind of broadened out and it has multiple branches. But it still does school sessions and workshops. Yes.
Okay, awesome. Well, my next question is, are there any internships or training courses you're aware of now which you would do if you were to go
Uh,
back?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. So I know that the podcast kind of is really kind of trending right now,
Hmm.
and there are a few podcasts in India as well which are really famous. So I really like Raj Shamani's podcast because he calls people who have different perspectives, and it's really nice to know that there are so many different occupations out there which we're not also aware of, and we can learn from so many different people and make our own profile so colorful and so varied. So that's something that I listen to now, which would have really helped me if I had heard when I was younger. But he was also only starting at that time, so he was not really famous. Another thing that I am sure I would have loved to do earlier on is hear the Star Talk from Neil deGrasse Tyson, which is again a talk show in which he talks about, he's an astrophysicist as well
Hmm.
and a science communicator, in which he talks about the different mysteries of the universe and about stars and how they die, how they live, how they're created. So all sorts of things which make you curious and are related to my field as well. So that's something that I would totally recommend for people to go out and check if they want to learn more about space.
And obviously, you talked about you did the internship with Psychom India. Are there
Mhm.
any new internships or kind of volunteer training work that you'd recommend they do now, as maybe along with applying to try and work with them?
Yeah, sure. There is a very nice website called Internshala in
Hmm.
India for you can just go and apply for internships there. I think that's where I found the SciComm internship as well. In fact, my company, Space Store India, we are currently providing internships for people. So please visit spacestore.co and or you can email me. I will drop my email at the end of this podcast, and you can email me and get in touch. So that's there. And then I think if even if you just Google internships for this role, and then they would definitely come up. Other websites that I can recommend is Glassdoor and
Hmm.
Indeed, which would also provide you, and then you can filter out if you want an internship, if you want a part-time job, and then you can, after using those filters, you can apply for whichever role suits you.
Perfect. I will be putting you the contact details that you're happy with in the description
Perfect.
at the end of the video, and also I'll put links to all of the different places that we've discussed in the description as well to make sure that people have access to all of those really easily.
Lovely.
We've talked about networking and using Indeed a little bit during the chat. Were there any networking events, mailing lists, groups, or guilds slash associations that you felt were particularly helpful in allowing you to get to this stage of your career?
That's a really good question. I made use of many conferences, many networking areas and platforms, and also mailing lists
Hmm.
to kind of just foster my knowledge in science communication or even other fields that I have done. I would really love to mention a conference that happens annually within the UK, which is called ASDC, which is
Hmm.
Association for Science Centers and
Discovery
sorry,
centers.
Yes, there you go. So that conference happens every year in September in different locations, and I've attended it twice, and it gives me the holistic kind of feeling of people from science backgrounds coming together and discussing ideas. And it's a really lovely environment because you get to network, you get to see other people's perspective. And there are people who are working towards, climate change. You actually get to meet people, and it's not just, you don't read about them just in books. You actually can talk to them about these topics. So that's one. The other thing, which is very much London focused, is the London Space Network, which is
Hmm.
LSN, which is again hosted by a friend of mine. Her name is Anushka Sharma. She's Indian, but she's been born and brought up in UK. And she's basically a founder of a company called NAAUT, which is a consultancy firm. But LSN is just like a side hustle for her, in which she invites people to have these pub quizzes or just pub networking sessions. So people working in the space industry within London or nearby areas can go to that pub. Again, it happens once a month, and you can just get some drinks and chat over drinks about what you do, what your role is, or what you would like to do. So I've seen a lot of younger kids over there who are still in university trying to look for jobs, and they connect with employers, and then they land internships or fellowships or even a role. So that's a lovely opportunity to connect with people in the space industry. One of my favorite mailing lists, and I think that's the one which has landed me most of my jobs, is SciComm, but the
Hmm.
spelling is PSCI hyphen COMM.
Hmm.
That's really, really helpful because I don't know how many people are on there, but I'm sure about more than 500 or more than 1,000
Oh,
people are on
at
there.
least thousands are on there, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So that's a really, really nice way to release job vacancies and even learn about any astronomy events or any pub quizzes happening nearby. So I really love to stay updated on the SciComm mailing list. So three of these have really, really helped me grow into the person I am today.
I, I'm really glad that they've been really, really helpful. I know I found the SciComm mailing list really, really helpful as well. I've mentioned it a couple of times on the podcast. I know there's also the Big Chats, which is run by Big, which is the big science communication network. It also hosts two events each year. One is the Little event for people who are new to science communication, which generally happens around February, March time. And then you've got the big event, which happens in a different country, not in a different city in the UK each year. It was at the Royal Institution last year, which was wonderful. And it's going to be in York this year as well.
Nice. I've surely heard about it when it happened in Bristol, I think. Yeah, I couldn't go to it, but I know that it's a really nice opportunity as well. One more last thing that I would like to add to my list of um, uh, mailing list
Hmm.
and organizations is UK SEDS. So UKSED stands for UK, and then SEDS stands for Students for Exploration and Development of Space, which is basically a student community which works towards, again, development and exploration of space. They do space events. There's an annual event that they do on the first weekend of March every year, which is called NSSC, which stands for National Space Student Conference. And it's a lovely opportunity, again, to network, to showcase what you're doing. They call companies on board as well, so you can connect with employers. And it's a lovely opportunity. I got a chance to work with UK SEDS actually for more than a year. I was working as a team lead of membership team. So getting inside the organization and working with these people, it's really inspiring because you don't get paid to be a part of this organization because it's a non-government sorry, it's an NGO and non-profit.
Hmm.
So you work for the organization completely because of your will. And you see how motivational, how inspirational people work there. And then you get the opportunity to work with them, which is a great pleasure, and you learn a lot.
That sounds. I think that's a really, really good place to try and go. Obviously, you've said it's been really, really beneficial as well.
Yeah.
I think, especially if you're not getting paid for something, try and get as much from the experience as possible. Jazz McNeil, who was the um, person who worked for the Scottish government, he did quite a few internships and did mention kind of making sure that you're getting the benefits from that experience. Either you're networking, you're developing skills, you're upskilling, you're working on your public speaking and kind of making sure that you're comfortable and developing those with your peers as well.
Yeah, exactly. And because my experience of working with UK SED was so positive and so, like it was really positive and it helped me grow, I am now working with SEDS India, which is
Mhm.
basically a correspondent SEDS community in India, to make it happen and grow the community as well. Because in India, it's a smaller community, but
Yeah.
I'm trying to, again, make the society active and grow it and connect more universities and more institutions within the network. And when I was giving my alumni talk, people really showed interest in SEDS India, which made me really happy. And I saw, okay, this is a positive sign to keep growing.
Awesome. I'd recommend for people to check out both the UK one and the India one, obviously because it seems like a brilliant community to be part of.
Yes.
My next question is, are there any graduate jobs that now exist in the industry that you feel would benefit someone?
I think now there are more jobs in the industry rather
Hmm.
than what people would think that AI has stolen. But I think because of technology, we've realized that more jobs are actually being created, which are different from the past jobs, but they involve more creativity and more kind of they're very different than the jobs that previously existed. In terms of if I talk about my field, astrophysics, again, you can obviously be a teacher, you can be a professor, but a very different job role that I came across was science journalism, which I learned about in my master's degree, and I would have loved to pursue it if I could do both. But science journalism is something that you need kind of the skills of a journalist as well as you need the information and the logical brain of a scientist. So combining these two would really kind of benefit your personality and give you so much information, and you'll be among these people who are talking about science and development and all these things. So definitely, I think graduate as a new role, science journalism is something that people should definitely look up.
Perfect. I know in terms of general graduate jobs, there especially for science communication, there is the Science Centres website, which has all the different science centres that are in the UK. I don't know if there is one for India as well. Are you aware of any?
So I haven't, that's actually a good point. I haven't actually searched, but I'm sure there are some government websites which would have these centers listed. We do have science museums in most of the cities here in India. I love the one in Delhi, and I've been there so many times. But they mostly focus on the basic science activities. If you want to do something which is more space related, you'll have to search for something which does only space education, because the museums in India, they're very generic in terms of science. So I'm going to have to look, and then we can put that link in the description again, which lists the science centers in India.
That'd be perfect. Because I know there's a role which I've seen that's come up recently in the UK for I think it's the Kilda Space Observatory, where they're
Mhm.
looking for a part-time or full-time astronomer and science communication.
Wow.
And it seems like a really, really cool place. And they've also looked like they've got a really good program of helping people with development as well. I read through the job description and they talked about having an individual budget for people to kind of develop themselves and also 10%, I think it was, of their scheduled time to be able to put towards that as well. So I think
That's very
that looking at observatories, um, I think go trying to I think emailing them is really good, but I would also recommend giving people a call because
cool.
then you have a contact that you can get, then you can talk to of I talked to this person, or you. sometimes the email that they have may not be the right one for what you're trying to look for. I
Mm.
remember, I think it was 3 or 4 years ago, I called the Edinburgh like observatory. They
Hmm.
weren't expecting calls about jobs. They were very confused. But it was a really good conversation, and I did then get to talk to kind of other people about it as well. So I'd recommend when we have that list of the kind of the different places that will do science communication and astrophysics
Hmm.
in India, reaching
Hmm.
out, emailing, maybe calling people to be able to get who you need to get in contact with, and maybe not even with the intention of having a job, but being able to have a chat. I
Exactly.
think,
Yeah, you never know what you can get out of the conversation.
yeah, when throughout when I was doing my science communication module, we had external science communicators who came in as experts, and I made a point of after each of their lectures going up to them and asking them if they'd go for a cup of tea or coffee, and so I could just have
Mm.
a chat about how they got to where they are and if there's
Mhm.
any tips or tricks or recommendation or advice they had for me.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I know that there are some observatories in India which are on the higher terrain because, India is really diverse. And up in the north, we have mountains, and down in the south, we have palm trees and coastal
Hmm.
areas. So in the north, there is a place called Nainital, which has a beautiful observatory called Aries. And I've never been there, but I know professors who have researched there, and then I've worked with those professors. So that's one of the really nice opportunities to kind of go and have a look, if not work there, but just have a look. And they're open for public as well on a few days for a visit. The second one that they're building, or I think it must be final now, it must be done, is in Leh, which is spelled as Leh.
Hmm.
Um, that's again a very beautiful terrain, mountains and empty spaces, and at a good altitude as well, which is ideal to set up observatories and look at the night sky. I know last year there was a beautiful kind of glimpse of aurora or the northern lights in Leh. So that was also a great place to kind of do astrophotography, and that actually brings me back to the roles that you were talking about within my field. Astrophotography is a great role that people are pursuing. Maybe not as a full time, but just as a side line kind of things, and that can also give you the opportunity to create some extra money.
Yeah, I think I've seen on TikTok some people who've kind of as part of their not part of their normal job, but as a hobby, they have their telescopes and they'll set them out, and it's stunning, and it
Yeah.
it does make me consider, do I want to go into astrophysics? Because that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know any places where people or can you recommend any pathways that people can do to get into astrophotography at all?
Yeah, sure. I mean, first you should have the interest to look up in the night sky and wait for hours. So
Hmm.
you have to be patient, you have to be passionate, and you need to have access to dark sky reserves or dark sky areas. And these areas are not really publicly accessible. So that means you can't really go there by public transport. So you'll have to have your own car, or rent a minivan and go with your friends. So Spiti Valley in up in Himalayas is one of the very famous dark spot reserves, where you can see the Milky Way band
Hmm.
very very clearly with the naked eye. You don't even need a telescope. Again,
Mm.
Leh is one of the things, one of the places to go and have a look at the aurora or a beautiful night sky. Essentially, you need to be away from the light of the city or any residential area, and you need to have your own car. If you don't have a telescope, that's all right. But if you do have one, definitely take it with you, because just to observe the moon, or you can also observe planets which are close by, like Saturn and Jupiter and Mars, if they are in the night sky. So, and I would recommend an app which I use to kind of locate these things up in the night sky, which is called Stellarium.
Hmm.
And I would love to pop in the link in the description for that as well. That basically helps me spot which planet is where. I just pull my phone up and I look in the night sky, kind of like scanning it, and it shows me if I'm pointing towards a star or something bright. It tells me which star it is, or is it a planet.
Do you know any companies that um, kind of help with people getting into astrophotography at all?
Uh, I don't think any companies support this kind of, um, an interest,
Hmm.
because this is very much people's hobby or a personal interest, so they follow it as a passion. Yeah, I know that they put their photographs on a website, and then people can pay for those photographs to download them, and then
Hmm.
that's how they get paid. But I'm not actually aware of any companies which hire an astrophotographer, or if they advertise it as a role.
So, how can people find out more about your role being a founder, working in astrophysics, working in kind of science communication?
Sure. So they can find me on LinkedIn, first of all, and I would love to share the link in the description for that. Secondly, they can find me on the website of Space Store UK, which is spacestore.co. I'm on the website as well, and I used to lead the outreach section of things, and now my role has shifted, obviously, in India. But I'm still in touch with the UK team. In fact, just before this podcast, I had a team meeting with them, so they can find me over there. And I think LinkedIn would be the best place to find more about my role and what verticals I work on. And yes, I would love for people to email me and ask if they have any specific questions.
Perfect. So, reaching out via LinkedIn, via email. Something that I find really useful on LinkedIn is the follow button, so that you can, even if you're not connected with the person, you can kind of get updates on what things are happening as well. And that's how I've made a lot of connections as well, by following
Def-
people, and then we see that we have maybe mutuals or kind of similar interests, and then we'll connect, which has been really beneficial.
Yeah, definitely. It took me a while to figure out what's the difference between follow and connect. But yeah, because I used to follow people, and then I used to message them, but that was not kind of allowed after a certain limit.
Yeah,
So connection is always better. But yes, if you like someone's profile, it's always good to follow them as well.
yeah. And my final question is, do you have anything you'd like to talk about or promote?
Yes, why not? Because as a fresh founder of a company, I would love to promote Space Store India.
Hmm.
Again, we're in the phase of building our own website. We are in the phase of expanding our team, but the mission is very clear that we want to bring immersive space learning to India, which includes using technology and making space education more experiential for students. For example, if I'm talking about black holes, I will show the students what a black hole looks like using a VR headset, so that they can actually experience being close to one. And I think the best way that I can describe a black hole is go and have a look at the movie Interstellar, in which the spaceship, it goes very close to the black hole and then goes into the black hole, so you can actually experience what it is to fall into one.
Hmm.
So yes, I would love to promote myself as a brand. If you like my journey, connect on LinkedIn, and I'm really happy to connect with people and answer their questions, not just about space science and astrophysics, but I also would love to help if you have any questions about studying abroad, which courses to apply for, because I've worked with many companies as a mentor as well. Like Seren and Equal mentoring many companies as a mentor. So I love to help younger kids to kind of understand and clarify what they want to do in the future. So if you have any questions about, how do applications work, what should my statement of purpose look like, and what course is right for me, what university is right for me, how do I handle the peer pressure, or how do I handle pressure from my parents, all that kind of stuff. So I'm really, really happy to chat about anything.
In terms of, obviously, you say you were wanting interns for the company. What are the kind of requirements to apply to be an intern?
That's a good question. And I'm currently looking for very different roles. So I'm looking for people to help me with marketing, with outreach and business development, with social media handling, with website development. and just building connections in general as well. I build the modules myself because, as Space Store India has a vision, and the I want to stick to the vision. I create the modules, but any sort of help in polishing the modules would be nice. If anybody knows how to kind of build a VR program, which is a virtual reality program, that is just excellent. Please pop a hi on LinkedIn, because that's something that I also do. However, I purchase VR programs to show to
Hmm.
the students. I don't know how to build one myself, but if someone knows, that would be just amazing. So I'm open to anything and everything right now. If someone has an interest in space, just pop a hello, and then I would love to have a chat.
Is there an age requirement that they need to be a minimum age to be applying for it?
Yes, I would say 16 would be the
Hmm.
minimum age to apply, and there's no maximum age.
Perfect. And if there are any people who are kind of suppliers that would like to help out with Space Store India, maybe people who have VR headsets or are kind of helping up with those things, where would be the best place for them to reach you, and what kind of things are you looking for?
That's a good question, because yes, I would need help with VR headsets. In the future, I also plan to expand my company in the field of space merchandise. So I would definitely need to look for vendors and people who, supply and make space merchandise. For example, lamps or pens or notebooks or any kind of figures. So, really, really happy to chat. And I think the best way to communicate with me then would be my email,
Hmm.
because I'm really responsive on my email, or otherwise LinkedIn, of course.
Mm. Something I'd also we with Artemis we've had quite a range of space things in our shop, and have found that the kind of freeze-dried space food, lots of kids are kind of really into that, and then also building models as well. They've really found they're really into that as well.
Yes, exactly. And we do that in Space Store UK as well, building models from a younger age, because then that kind of develops their thinking skills and logical thinking as well. Like, how do I plug these pieces together, and how do I build this model with the most efficiency? So that's definitely useful.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast and chatting to me. Have you got anything else that you'd like to say to the audience?
No, thank you so much for having me. It was so exciting, and it was such a pleasure to talk about my journey. And this is actually one example that if you don't ask, you don't get. We got connected on LinkedIn, and I was looking forward to doing a podcast with you. And thank you so much for giving me that opportunity to do it. It was super fun, and it felt like a conversation, I'm talking to a friend. So thank you so much for giving me this platform. And yes, I would love to chat with the audience about anything one to one. I'm really, really approachable. Um, Surprisingly, my title is astrophysicist, but I'm really, really friendly. And, just like your friendly neighbor, I can chat with you for hours. So please don't be shy, and just, yeah, pop me a hi.
Perfect. Wonderful. Well, make sure to reach out if you have any questions about astrophysics or the science communication, or as you said, doing university in a different country, or kind of working out those different options. I'd highly recommend it. I will be talking to you all, the audience, in the next episode. So go and check out the other episodes that we've got out at the moment. We've got a whole range of different people with different jobs and different careers, and showing how much science there is out there. Hi everyone, I hope you enjoyed the episode. I certainly enjoyed making it. If you've got any questions, feedback, or recommendations for who you'd like us to talk to, you can send them to our email, themanyfacesofscience@gmail.com. Or you can contact us via our socials on Twitter, Bluesky, Instagram, and TikTok. See you next time!